This week on Tips and Techniques, I'm going to talk about pegging the soles on a pair of cowboy boots. These are the tools that I need for pegging a pair of boots. I've got a pegging awl and haft. The haft is the part that you hold, and the pegging awl is the pointy metal piece that you drive into the boot. And to make that easier, to make it easier to go in and come out, I've got a piece of beeswax. So every now and then I'll insert the awl into the beeswax. I started with a stitch marker. So this is a number 6 stitch marker, and this is the tool I use to make the little impressions to show me where to drive the awl. I've got little wooden pegs. These are what go into the hole that I create with a pegging awl. I hit the pegging awl with a hammer. This is a particularly nice hammer. I hit the pegs with a nice little pegging hammer. This is actually more important. All you really need is a hammer to hit the awl. It doesn't have to be a particular shape. Although a nice flat head is nice because you're hitting the flat end of the haft. But when you put the pegs in, you don't want a hammer with a big flat head, because what that's going to do is mark up your leather. When you're pegging the boots, the sole is typically damp. And so if you're hitting the pegs with a big flat hammer head with nice sharp edges like this, you're just going to mark up your sole. So what you want is a very small hammer with a nice rounded head, so that as you drive the pegs in, it's not going to mark up the leather. I'm going to use my awl to punch the holes for the pegs. That little rubber bumper on the end of the awl haft helps the awl to pop back out when I hit it. And I also position I hold the awl so that the heel of my hand will also compress and help pop the awl back out. When I was making the holes, I had the boot between me and where I was hammering the holes. And now, when I go back to peg, I'm going to stand in the same position. Most people tend to angle the awl ever so slightly towards yourself. Don't exaggerate that. You don't want to try to angle that awl and put it in at a really steep angle, but just naturally most people are going to angle it towards themselves just a little. So obviously it would be very counterproductive if my hole has a slight angle this way and then I'm standing over here trying to hammer towards myself and again angling the peg towards myself, but the hole's going the other way. That's not going to work real well. So keep the boot between yourself and where you're pegging. And then make sure to stand in that same position when you actually drive the pegs in. See how I've really got it pressed tight up against me? You can't successfully peg if your boot is just floating out there, wiggling. You've got to brace it up against you so that it doesn't move. And you'll have much better success at punching your holes. Continue to stand in the same place. Sometimes you miss. So the spacing here is right next to that first row, but in between each of the other pegs that you've already done. I don't use the stitch marker again for this row of pegs. I just put it close to the first row and space it between each previous peg. And one final thing. Once the boot is completely pegged, I'm going to spray those pegs and saturate them with water so that they will swell up and hold tightly. I don't want to sand them smooth until they've done all the swelling that they're going to do, and that way I can sand them smooth and know that they'll stay smooth. It takes a while to master pegging. I had an apprentice one time and she was pegging one of her first pairs of boots and it was not going well and she was not happy about it. Finally I told her, I said, you have two choices. You can either be good at pegging or you can be young. Because you're not going to be both. It takes too long to learn. She thought about that for a minute and she said, I think I'll just be bad at pegging. And I assured her that given the choice, I'd choose to be bad at pegging too. So there you have it, friends. This is what a pegged sole should look like. Every peg driven in deeply and flush, not broken off. There's always going to be a few stinkers, but basically that's pretty perfect. Remember when I said earlier that you can either be young or you can be good at pegging? I have just conclusively proved from the entire internet that I'm old. You're welcome. Today I will be attempting to survive in an extremely hostile environment, a high school campus. My mission is to give a presentation to Paige's fashion class. To accomplish this, I will traverse crowded hallways, stand bravely in front of a group of obnoxious adolescents, and possibly forage for food in a high school cafeteria. Wish me luck.
So please behave, listen politely. You've been nice enough to come here to speak to us. So please listen well. I'll be watching you.
I'm a bespoke maker, so that means that I personally make cowboy boots from flat pieces of leather and the customer's measurements. I don't make anything until a customer comes in and I measure their feet and they choose their leather and their design, and then I make that boot. As we go through this, all of the boots that you see, everything was cut by hand, and every color that you see is a different piece of leather. There's no painting. Did you have a question?
Yes, what kind of leather is that around the shoe?
This one?
Yes, ma'am.
This is ostrich. All of the tops that you see. Did you think so? Did you guess?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know ostriches have leather.
Yeah, everything has
cows
leather.
was the
Yes.
only thing.
You don't buy leather in bolts like fabric. You buy leather in skins. So it looks like a flat animal of whatever animal it is.
So you can make leather out of an octopus.
My goal is, if I'm not making more than I could make if I were a people breeder at Walmart, then I should quit. Because when you own your own business, there's no point in having the stress and the headache of buying your inventory and buying your machinery and paying the electric bill and a telephone bill. If you can't make more money than minimum wage at McDonald's, then go work at McDonald's, because then when it's time to go home, you get to go home and relax, instead of thinking, I've got to get this done because I own this business and this customer's going to call me. It has to be worth your while, otherwise don't do it. So, I mean, you can make this beautiful, perfect boot right here, and it's lovely, and then it doesn't fit. You don't need that kind of stress for $7 an hour, believe me.
So what you're saying is you should have a passion
Yes.
for what you do.
You have to have a passion. I've enlisted the help of a native, and she's promised to guide me in search of food that's edible. Paige, what can you tell me about finding food in this hostile wilderness?
Mom, can we please eat off campus? Just take me to Subway.